What is it about single letters and performance cars? BMW has M, Volkswagen has R, Lexus has F, and with only 23 choices left, Hyundai opted for N, which stands for Namyang, which is its sprawling proving ground and development centre in South Korea. And it also stands for Nürburgring, the famous German race circuit, where it fine-tunes a lot of its performance models. And like BMW M Sport, Volkswagen R Line and Lexus F Sport, Hyundai has N Line. It's a light option, sporty and adding some visual flair without crossing over into genuine hot rod territory.
And this is one of its latest examples, the pure electric Ioniq 5 SUV in top-spec Epiq all-wheel drive trim and equipped with the N-Line option pack as well as the tricky digital mirror pack.
In this configuration, it slots into the $90,000 price band, which means it has a lot to live up to in terms of performance, driving dynamics, value and more. So stay with us to see if this premium 5-seater is the kind of sporty EV SUV that gets your blood racing.
It shows how far the Hyundai brand has come over its close to 40 years in the Australian new car market, that one of its 5-seat SUVs wearing a price tag in excess of $90,000 before on-road costs doesn't knock the earth off its axis. But it does apply the pressure, because that puts this primo Ioniq 5 Epiq N-Line all-wheel drive in the same orbit as versions of the Audi Q4 e-tron, BMW iX3, Mercedes-Benz EQB, Tesla Model Y and Volvo's XC40 Recharge.
In fact, our test car's price adds the N-Line pack, which is technically a $2,500 option, as well as the digital mirrors outside and inside for an extra $3,000, which brings us to an as-tested price of $94,300 before on-road costs.
So you should rightfully expect a handsome standard equipment list, and this full-fat Ioniq 5 doesn't disappoint. For the complete rundown, check out my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au. But the highlights are 20-inch alloy rims, LED projection headlights, dual-zone climate control, heated and ventilated power-adjustable driver and front passenger seats, Bose 8-speaker audio, built-in nav and a fixed glass panoramic roof. There's lots more, and the Ioniq 5 Epiq N-Line all-wheel drive stands up well against its competitors when it comes to included features.
Is it a big hatchback or a mid-size SUV? I'm on Team Hatchback, but Hyundai defines the Ioniq 5 as an SUV. But who cares really? They're just words, and the fact is, after best part of 3 years in market, the Ioniq 5 still looks fresh and contemporary thanks to its confident chiselled lines and broad stance.
For car spotters, the N-Line exterior treatment consists of flat aluminium badging, specific bumpers front and rear with a deeper nose spoiler incorporating larger vents to cool the front brakes.
There's also body-coloured cladding and side skirts, gloss black mirror caps, unique 20-inch rims and a hidden lighting signature in the top of the front bumper.
Inside there are Alcantara and leather appointed seats, an N-Line exclusive partially perforated leather steering wheel, red contrast stitching and accents, and brushed metal covers on the pedals.
Add these twin 12.3-inch screens in a single display, and this understated, super cool interior comes to life with a sporty twist.
The Ioniq 5 scores points for a manual dial for audio control, and an Ioniq 5 update earlier this year included a row of simple-to-use buttons for the ventilation system and another on the centre console for seat comfort settings and more. A sensible blend of physical and digital controls.
The Ioniq 5 Epiq N-Line all-wheel drive is powered by a permanent magnet synchronous electric motor on both axles. The one at the back a little gruntier than the one at the front. And combined outputs are prodigious with more than 600 Newton meters of pulling power delivering eye-widening acceleration.
Drive goes to all four wheels via a single-speed reduction gear auto transmission on both axles. And a disconnector actuator system is able to disengage the front wheels to reduce drag losses from the front motor and improve energy efficiency. At just over 4.6 metres long, a little under 1.9 metres wide and a fraction more than 1.6 metres tall, the Ioniq 5 comfortably fits the medium SUV profile.
But arguably the most significant dimension is the 3-metre wheelbase, Huge for a car of this size, as evidenced by the wheels pushed out to the corners. What that means inside is plenty of space, but before we even get in there, these door handles, they look cool, but I'm not a fan. They don't really work very well from an ergonomic point of view. Once inside, the front seats are adjustable 6 ways to Sunday, and I've got plenty of room and lots of breathing space. In terms of storage, there are big pockets in the doors with room for bottles, and you've got this center console. Thanks to the shift-by-wire controller on the steering column, plenty of storage in here. A couple of cup holders, a slot for devices, and in fact this whole unit is able to slide backwards and forwards. You have a lidded tray here, which can also fold completely out of the way and give you access to this big tray underneath. There's an oddment storage bin here and a decent glove box. Then for connectivity and power, boy, 2 USB-Cs here, another 2 there, one for streaming, and a 12 volt, so lots of options. I'm sitting behind the driver's seat set for my 183 centimetre position. I've got foot room, leg room, headroom, just plenty of space. Then when it comes to storage and the practicality of the rear seat, first of all, nice things in this level, you've got sunshades on both rear windows. You've also got little trays and enough space for bottles in the doors. You've got a fold down armrest with a couple of cup holders. And as I mentioned earlier, this center console will slide forward, which is great for when you want someone in the center of the rear seat. There are also a couple of USB ports in the back, a little cubby down here, individual vents for the ventilation system in the B pillars, and you can control the front passenger seat from the back to give the person on the left-hand side a bit of extra room if you want that. And further to adding more room, this back seat isn't just split 60-40 on the backrest, it's split 60-40 on the cushion as well, and it's electrically adjustable. So you can either move it forward to give a little more luggage space, or move backward to give more legroom for those that are in the rear.
The boot is generous at 527 litres with the rear seat upright, and 1,587 litres when it's folded down. There's also a handy 24-litre frunk under the bonnet, a decent portion of which is devoted to the included charging cable. Interestingly, the Ioniq 5 all-wheel drive is rated to tow a 1.6-tonne brake trailer, with a trailer pre-wiring package standard. There's a repair inflator kit rather than a spare tyre, which is never a good thing. But there is a smart power tailgate and a vehicle-to-load function that allows you to power and or charge 3-pin appliances from the car. Handy. The Ioniq 5 Epiq all-wheel drive is powered by an 84 kWh liquid-cooled lithium-ion battery borrowed from the high-performance Ioniq 5N. Thanks to 800-volt compatibility, the Ioniq 5 can accept a 350 kilowatt DC charge, which translates to an up to 80% charge time of around 18 minutes, which expands to just over an hour using a more typical 50 kilowatt charger. Connect to AC at the Ioniq 5's maximum 10.5 kilowatt capacity, and quoted charge time is just over 6 hours. Official energy consumption on the combined urban extra urban cycle is 19 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, and claimed range is a useful 495 kilometres. Over a mix of urban, suburban and freeway running on test, we saw a real-world average of 16.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, which is impressive for a car with this much performance potential.
So in this car we're talking 0 to 100 km/h acceleration in just a tick over 5 seconds. And I say anything in that neck of the woods is properly fast. And you've got more than 600 Newton meters, so always plenty of oomph, pulling power on tap whenever you want to get going. The shift-by-wire controller on the column here frees up space for the center console and what have you. It does take some getting used to when you're doing slow speed maneuvering, parking and what have you, but once you do, it's actually pretty handy. There are multiple modes: eco, normal, and sport spices things up a bit, just a more urgent kind of response to the throttle, and the H-Track all-wheel drive system is able to use multiple sensors and manage drive to the front and rear axles to keep you under control on slippery surfaces like, you know, mud, snow and that kind of thing. Suspension is by struts at the front and multi-links at the rear. And I've got to tell you, it is so smooth and composed. Even hit pretty aggressive speed bumps and ruts in the road, and it just soaks them up. You're used to an EV being a little bit harsh in terms of its ride compliance. Far from it, this car is great, and Hyundai says it undertook what it positioned as a comprehensive reworking of the suspension, including high-performance dampers in this N-Line model, and it has paid off, as well as some body reinforcements around the B and C pillar, door apertures and under the car, which stiffens up the platform and gives you a much better base level to work with in terms of setting up the suspension. It's really good. So this Ioniq 5 is 2.1 tonnes, which is a fair amount of weight, but its extra reinforcement in the body means that it doesn't feel lumbering or ponderous in any way. That suspension tune keeps it composed, and the body control is really good. The steering is nicely weighted and accurate. You don't feel as though you're in a big behemoth. It's quite responsive and nimble when you're heading through corners. When it comes to braking, the physical brakes are actually ventilated discs, front and rear. But then the regenerative braking, you have 4 levels. And the beauty of this Hyundai setup is you've got the most aggressive one being what's called I-pedal. Sort of one pedal driving. You don't really have to think about putting your foot onto the brake most of the time. It will bring the car up to a full stop, so long as you give it a little bit of warning. You might need to apply the brake pedal if it's a little more urgent than that, but it's a really nice feature. When it comes to miscellaneous observations, one of them is the turning circle. It's 12 metres, which is not exactly small, and it's partly a product of the long wheelbase. You can play with the steering ratio as much as you like, but the fact that there's 3 metres between the axles means you're going to have a fair turning circle, so be prepared for that. Worth mentioning, this car still suffers from the default overspeed warning, meaning there's a beeping, bonging, telling you that you've gone over the indicated speed limit. You have to go through 4 or 5 clicks, multiple screens to turn it off. Cars like the new Hyundai Tucson Hybrid, there's a shortcut button for that, not in this one unfortunately. It is a pain in the neck. In an update earlier this year, a faster CPU was put behind the multimedia system, and gotta say, it is quick, responsive, no lag, very good setup. Now this car is optioned with the camera mirrors, which is a 3K pickup, and it does take some getting used to. These high definition screens in the doors are what you're looking at rather than out the window. They're kind of wasted on rear view mirrors. They're really good quality. Once you do get into the groove with them, it becomes second nature, and you also get a camera setup for the center rear view mirror, which is great if you've got big loads or lots of people in the back seat. It's just the depth of field takes a little bit of getting used to as well, because there isn't much. A neat party trick this car has up its sleeve is the remote smart parking, which means if someone's managed to box you in, you find yourself in an impossibly tight spot, you can use the key fob to actually pull the car out, or if you're game, you want to park in a very tight spot, you can put it in there with the same system. The Ioniq 5 received a maximum 5-star ANCAP assessment from testing in 2021, with very high scores in adult and child occupant protection, as well as onboard safety assist systems.
For full details, check out our written review on the CarsGuide site, but active crash avoidance tech highlights include AEB, rear AEB, and a long list of assists, warnings, monitors and alerts, from lane keeping assist and lane departure warning to blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. If a crash is unavoidable, there are 7 airbags on board, including a front centre bag to minimise head clash injuries in a side-on impact. There's lots more, and the Ioniq 5 stacks up well relative to its competitors when it comes to safety.
Hyundai covers the Ioniq 5 with a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, which is now the norm in the mainstream market. There's a separate 8-year 160,000 kilometre warranty on the main drive battery, also an expected term for EVs.
Roadside assistance and sat-nav updates are renewed annually if the vehicle is serviced at an authorised Hyundai dealer. Service interval is 2 years, 30,000 kilometres, which is appropriate for an EV given its relative mechanical simplicity, and a lifetime service plan locks in scheduled maintenance costs for the life of the vehicle. Service cost for the first 5 years is $1,220, with each of the 2 services required in that time coming in at $610, competitive for an EV in this part of the market.
The Hyundai Ioniq 5 Epiq inline all-wheel drive leverages the best attributes of an electric powertrain brilliantly well. It's ultra smooth and comfortable with ample performance and great dynamics, thanks in part to this car's inline spec. Its price tag pits it against formidable opposition from the German Big Three, Tesla and others, but it has what it takes in terms of quality and value to effectively fight that battle. It's an impressive machine. Moi chin!